In the autumn of 117 AD, somewhere in the cold hills of northern Britain, an entire Roman legion marched into the mist. 5,000 men. Trained killers, the pride of an empire. And then nothing. No final battle, no list of the dead, no letters home. 5,000 soldiers simply stepped out of history and never stepped back in. This is the story of the Ninth Legion, one of the greatest military mysteries the world has ever known. And after almost 2,000 years, we still don't know what happened to them. To understand how strange their disappearance is, you first have to understand who these men were. The Romans didn't just have an army, they had a machine, and its building block was the legion. A single legion was around 5,000 soldiers, not a mob, but a disciplined professional force that could build roads, bridges, and entire cities, then crush a rebellion before nightfall. The 9th Legio Nona Hispana was one of the oldest of them all, fighting across the empire for over a century, from Spain to the Balkans. They had been there at the conquest of Britain itself, helping Rome carve a new province out of a wild and hostile island. These were not raw recruits. They were veterans of a war machine that had conquered most of the known world, which is exactly why their fate is so hard to explain. By the early 2nd century, the 9th was stationed in the north of Britain, in a fortress the Romans called Eboracum. Today, we call it York. It was the edge of the empire. Beyond it lay a land Rome feared and never truly conquered. Caledonia, modern-day Scotland. Up there, in the highlands and the fog, lived the tribes the Romans called the Caledonians. Fierce, fast, and impossible to pin down in open battle. We know the 9th was at York because they left their mark, literally. Stamped tiles and inscriptions bearing the legion's name, used to build and repair the fortress. The last firm evidence of the 9th as an active unit in Britain dates to around 108 AD. After that, the trail goes cold. Now here is what makes this a real mystery, and not just a gap in the records. Rome was obsessed with documentation. Every legion, every commander, every campaign was recorded, carved in stone, and copied across the empire. And when Rome suffered a true disaster, when an entire legion was wiped out, they did not hide it. They mourned it. They wrote about it for generations. A century earlier, 3 legions had been ambushed and destroyed in a German forest. The emperor was said to have beaten his head against the wall, crying out for his lost soldiers. That catastrophe was never forgotten. So if the 9th had been annihilated, we'd expect outrage, mourning, monuments. Instead, for one of Rome's oldest legions, we get something far more unsettling. Silence. So what happened to 5,000 men? Over the centuries, historians have proposed several theories, and each tells a different, haunting story. Theory 1, the legend, that the 9th marched north into Caledonia to crush a rebellion and was ambushed and destroyed in the mountains and mist. Every last man. This is the version that inspired novels and films. The doomed legion, swallowed by the highlands, its golden eagle standard lost forever to the enemy. It's dramatic, it's cinematic, but most modern historians are skeptical because there's almost no hard evidence it happened that way. Theory 2, the transfer. Many historians now believe the 9th was simply moved out of Britain sometime after 120 AD and sent elsewhere in the empire. There are tantalizing clues. Tiles bearing the legion's name have been found far from Britain, in what is now the Netherlands, hinting that at least part of the 9th was redeployed. If so, the legion didn't vanish in Britain at all. It marched east toward a different and equally dangerous fate. Theory 3, a death far from home. Some believe the 9th met its end in the eastern provinces, perhaps in a brutal revolt in Judea, or the endless wars against the Parthian Empire. Thousands of miles from the cold hills of Britain, the legion that began this story might have died under a desert sun, and no one connected the two. And Theory 4, the quiet end, the least dramatic and perhaps the most likely. That the legion was reorganized, renamed, or slowly disbanded, its identity dissolving into other units until the name 9th simply stopped being used. Not a massacre, not a last stand, just an empire's paperwork quietly closing a chapter. So which is it? The truth is, after almost 2,000 years, no one can say for certain. The evidence is thin, scattered, and open to interpretation. And maybe that's exactly why the Ninth Legion refuses to be forgotten, because a mystery with no ending is a mystery that lives forever. Their story inspired a famous novel, films, and a legend that still grips us today. The Lost Legion that marched into the fog and never came back. Somewhere out there, under a Scottish hillside beneath a Dutch field, or lost in the sands of the Middle East, may lie the answer. Waiting. 5,000 men, one of the greatest armies the world had ever seen. Here one day, gone the next, and to this day, history still doesn't know where they went.